oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku serebuwo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku serebuwo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku serebuwo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku serebuwo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku serebuwo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube.
Yes, Mega Promotion TV atwagala okuba gwe abatujoyininze nga bwe twabalaganyiza nti olunaku olwaleero tugenda kuba tubaleetera biki ebigenda mu maaso mu EU Parliament, olutuulo olugenda okuba nga lutuula olwayitibwa abantu abatwala gavumenti ya Uganda omukyala ambassador mu Brussels oba Belgium, oluvannyuma okuba nga yayitibwa ate gavumenti nevayo negamba nti tajja kubeera ng'alabikako. Essaawa zino olukiiko lutandise era nga lugenda kubaamu omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, omukulembeze wa NUP, gattako omukyala Sarah Bireete, nga bakubaganya ebirowoozo ku biki Parliament eya European Union oluvannyuma lwe yatuula n'eraga nti okulonda kwa Uganda kwalimu okulumira oba kwalimu ebirumira. Ne basalawo olunaku olwaleero balabe biki bye basobola okuba nga badiscussinga. So Mega Promotion TV esazeewo olunaku olwaleero ebeere ng'ekuleetera session eno direct. Sirinze kandi n'enjopo akyatetenkanya kulaba butya bwe tusobola obaleetera ebifaananyi direct n'okuba nga tubannyonnyola biki ebigenda mu maaso. Essaawa zino Parliament yatandise dde okugenda mu maaso nga mubadde mumanyi twadde twabasuubiza sanga 12, naye olw'okuba nti etandise twagala tubaleetereko ku bimu ebiki ebitandise okuba nga bigenda mu maaso, then tujje tube nga tubimenyaamenya. Olunaku olwaleero nze Katende Hood ngenda kuba nga nkutwala ne enjopo mu eno session oba Parliament eno eri mu Brussels, ekibuga ekya Belgium. Enjopo simanyi oba osobola tuleetera ku biki ekiri ku stage essaawa zino, abantu basooke bakiwulire. Kukubiriza gwe wenna ali ku Mega Promotion TV, avudde ku TikTok twabateereddewo dda link ne mugamba nti mujja kujja mutusanga eno, abo boosobola okuyita munno abeere ng'asobola tujoyininga olunaku olwaleero ajje atugoberere nga bwe tugenda maaso. Paulo, simanyi oba osobola okuba nga ondeetera osobola okundeetera ku biki bigenda maaso
ebifaananyi bye ndi mu kuleeta wano eno mbadde nsaba osobola okubanga abantu baffe bawa updates nga bwe nkola ku speed eyayiriyiri okulabikira ddala nga mbawa ki ekigenda mu maaso mu European Parliament Delegation meeting egenda okuba nga tulaba ki ekigenda okuba nga kivaamu bayise abakulu okuli aba government official sides eno mu Uganda wagenda kubaayo omukyala Sarah Bireete wamu ne Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu mbadde nkusaba keeping on
yes mwe abakyali ku Mega Promotion TV nga bwe mbategeezezza nti ebigenda mu maaso olukiiko lwo lwatandise dda tusuubira okulaba pulezidenti wa NUP naye tajja kubaayo physically agenda kuba ayita ku mutimbagano oba Zoom meeting kwagenda okuba nga akwasaganyiza ebyo ebigenda mu maaso mpozi ate gattako omukyala Sarah Bireete omukyala oyo alwanirira eddembe ery'obuntu era kalabalaba w'ebyokulonda akiikirira ekitongole ekya UN mu ntambula y'ebyokulonda kalabalaba naye agenda kuba physically nga gyali mu kusookera ddala twalabanga omukyala oba ambassador akiikirira Uganda Belgium yakola ki yayitibwa naye gavumenti nga opposition yayo yavuddeyo negamba tegenda kwetaba mu kino ekintu tugenda kubaganya ebirowoozo n'enjopo kigenda kirekawa gavumenti ffe nga bannayuganda kitulekawa n'ekirala oluvannyuma lw'okuba nga twalaba summit eyali Switzerland e Geneva ne wabaawo ebintu ebyayogerwa era twalaba president Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu omukulembeze wa NUP yavayo n'abanga ayogera biki ebya transparinga mu kalulu biki ebyatuuka mu makage biki ebyatuuka ku bantu mu Uganda okwatibwa political prisoners essaawa zino byebintu ebikyali bikyakubiganyizibwako ebirowoozo tujja kutuula tulabe nti ebintu bino omukulu Kyagulanyi Ssentamu byali mu kubanga alabisa oba kubanga aloopa mu bazungu abazungu bano banaavayo babenga balina kye batutaasaako oba ffe nga kwaba abantu abagala enkyukakyuka tulina kye tunaasuubira mwezo Parliamentary mu ebyo ebitongole byerwaniye eddembe ly'obuntu tulina kye tusuubira ebyo byonna tugenda kuba nga tubiteesaako tubikubaganyako ebirowoozo olunaku olwaleero gwe kyoba okola yita muno live tubeere nga tugipushinga ate osubscribinge onyige n'akadde ako kajja kuba nga buli we tubaako kye tukola nga kakunotifyinga nti waliwo ekigenda mu maaso olunaku olwaleero buli omu ajja kwebuuza tuzze tuweereza ebintu bino Geneva Summit tuweereza European Union Parliament ne kakati era tuzze ku European Union Parliament okuba nga tulaba omuntu gwali eyo ojja kwebuuza munnayuganda bituyamba ki gwe nga munnayuganda naddala abo abantu abalaba nga waliwo enkyukakyuka erina okugenda mu maaso ebintu bino bikuyamba nti waliwo omukulu Kyagulanyi bwe yali mu Geneva Summit ayina ebintu bye yasaba bibeere nga bikolebwa ku gavumenti ya President Yoweri Museveni yasaba okubanga okudiringa ne gavumenti oba gavumenti eyo obutagiricognize nga gavumenti n'ebintu ebirala bingi okuteekawo sanctions ku bantu abamu ba individual abagezezzaako okuvaayo okutabangula oba okutyoboola eddembe ly'obuntu kibayita human rights n'ekirala nti obuyambi obwo accountability nti ensi nga Uganda erina sente ezigiweebwa gavumenti ebeere ng'esobola okubeera accountable kwezo sente eziba nga zigiweebwa kwe tuli live Mega Promotion TV nga bwe mbagambye lukiiko tugenda dubaleetera Robert Kyagulanyi agenda kubaako live ng'enjopo bwagambye tulina omukyala Sarah Bireete bonna tugenda kuba nga tubalaba biki bye boogera n'oluvannyuma tulabe call for action ki kye tufunamu oluvannyuma lwa Parliament discussing ki solution ki egenda okubaawo tuli ku Mega Promotion TV era nga enjopo bwatuleetera ebifaananyi okuva Brussels Belgium akyabiyiiya naye nga ffe twatandise dda live gwe wenna gy'oli agamba munno nti ku Mega Promotion TV kwe tugenda okulabira ddala oba okwota obuliro ebyo ebigenda mu maaso twazeeko ne tubaawo ku mawulire agagenda mu maaso mu Uganda nga mpozi ng'ebifaananyi bwe bijja nti okusaba okwabadde kutegekeddwawo okusabira omukulu Dr. Kizza Besigye gyali mu kkomera naye nga ku lutikko wabadde okusaba okwo tekubaddeeyo tekusazibwamu naye tekubaddeeyo oluvannyuma lwa lipoota waffe tutegeeza nti waliwo abasumba oba abaloyi b'emeero oba ababadde bagenda okuba nga batwala okusaba okwo mu maaso bafunye bafune obubaka okuva mu bantu ba waggulu nti okwo okusaba tekulina kugenda mu maaso okusabira Dr. Kizza Besigye. Ekyo nakyo kyabadde kibuuzo nti byebimu ebitandise okuba nga birabisa gavumenti eno ate gwe ssebo wootuukira ekiseera n'ogamba nti kati okusaba oba okusabira omuntu nakyo kisitopinze tulabira ddala nga tekiba kirungi. Ebintu bingi nnyo ebigenda mu maaso, amawulire mangi nnyo agakyagendera ddala mu maaso mu ggwanga Uganda, era gwe gy'oli Mega Promotion TV amawulire gonna tuba tugakutuusaako. Twavaayo kaawe emabega ne tubagambako nga ekibuga Kampala bwe kyateekebwako nti abasuubuzi abo oba abatembeeyi, abavuzi ba taxi, abavuzi ba boda n'aba special oluvannyuma lw'okuba nga babajja ku street za Kampala. Ekibuga Kampala kibadde nga ennaku zino tekiri nnyo congested nga bwe kibadde, naye ennaku nga bbiri kati abasirikale tubalabye mu kwetooloola Kampala, Kawempe, abantu ababadde bavaayo ku nguudo ne bafumba akamere nakyo kibalekawa olunaku olwaleero okubanga abantu abo ababadde bakolera ku street ennaku zino tebakyakola. Kati oluvannyuma lw'okulonda ebyo byonna ng'okulonda kuwedde ng'abantu bano bakkirizibwa okujja bakolere ku street okwo, gwe nga munnayuganda olaba nti obwo buba bwenkanya omuntu okuba nga agobebwa ku nguudo. Newankubadde twagala ekibuga ekiri clean, kubanga waliwo abantu abagamba nti kati ekibuga kitandise okuba nga kirabikako bulungi olw'okuba omujjuzo tegukyaliyo, naye soko omuntu ng'owa wansi ye olina naye omumufaako. Omuntu adde afunamu akasente anajja n'akolayo 2,000 3,000 n'ateekawo ebintu ne bamugulako, n'oyo omuntu owa bodaboda abadde ajja kibayita okubyanza n'abyanzayo n'afunayo ku akasente akasobola okulabirira famire. Jjukira abaana bakaddayo ku ssomero, school fees aba alina okunoonyezebwa n'ebintu ebirala bingi nga bw'omanyi bw'olina okuba nga bitambula. Nga bwe tukyanoonya ebifaananyi okubatuusaako olukiiko olugenda mu maaso bwe tutyo bwe tutambula olunaku olwaleero. Ayinza oposooka ompeka gundi kaffe kali akasooka akavaayo akalaga nti tujja ate tulyoke tukomewo tulyoke nga tubaleetera ebirala ebigenda mu maaso bingi nnyo. Tovaako ku Mega Promotion TV bwe tutyo bwe tutambula.
Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunno kw'ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunno kw'ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunno kw'ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunno kw'ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna, okutwaliza awamu, okunno kw'ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo. Tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula, biki ebifa ku sereebu wo, ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba, oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry.
Whether we can bring greater stability to energy prices, whether we can create conditions for businesses to grow here in Europe rather than elsewhere. We can invest in skills so that workers are prepared for change and that nobody is left behind. In this parliament, what we are doing right now is we are pushing to complete the single market. We are pushing to remove the barriers, so many of them that still stand in our way. We are working to strengthen our energy union so supply is secure and prices are more predictable. We are cutting unnecessary red tape that holds back entrepreneurs and innovators, and we are shaping a long-term budget that supports our regions, that backs our farmers and equips the next generation with real opportunities. But none of this will work in isolation, and for this we need you completely. European decisions only work if they reflect national realities. Each election after election, we learn this more and more. And if such decisions are explained clearly, you are so over the next 2 days, your discussions will help shape how we move forward. So, for more reasons than one, I mentioned a special sitting European Parliament. This will be a moment to reaffirm our commitment and support to Ukraine and to show that when Europe is challenged, it's together, it acts together. So all of you are invited to follow that sitting from the tribunes, and I truly hope that will join us at that moment of unity and of resolve. So colleagues, this is truly Europe's moment. The people placed their trust in us when they went to the ballot box, watching what we do. They expect us to act, and we afford to hesitate. So over the next days, let us match words with action and show that when Europe is tested, it rises to the occasion. So now, it is my true honor to give the floor, my dear friend, to the President of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Cyprus, dear Anita. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear Roberta, and allow me to extend my warmest greetings to each and every one of you. And you allow me, of course, to speak in my mother language, in Greek. Εξοχότατη κυρία Πρόεδρε του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου, πολύ καλή φίλη της Κύπρου, αλλά και προσωπική μου φίλη, αγαπητή μου Ρομπέρτα, αξιότιμα μέλη, αγαπημένοι μου συνάδελφοι του Βουλής των Αντιπροσώπων, αξιότιμα μέλη του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου, εκλεκτοί προσκεκλημένοι, εκπρόσωποι των Ευρωπαϊκών Θεσμών και Εθνικών Κοινοβουλίων, εκπρόσωποι των και αξιών της ευρωπαϊκής μας ταυτότητας και προής. Είναι πραγματικά με ιδιαίτερη χαρά και τιμή που κηρύσσουμε σήμερα την έναρξη των εργασιών της Ευρωπαϊκής Κοινοβουλευτικής Εβδομάδας που συνδιοργανώνεται από το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο και το Βουλή των Αντιπροσώπων Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας στο πλαίσιο της κοινοβουλευτικής διάστασης της Κυπριακής Προεδρίας του Συμβουλίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Και επιτρέψτε μου να εκφράσω τις ευχαριστίες προς το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο και βεβαίως προς τη φίλη Πρόεδρο του Σώματος για τη στενή συνεργασία και τη φιλοξενία παρούσας διάσκεψης της Βρυξέλλες. Συναντιόμαστε σήμερα όχι απλώς ως εκπρόσωποι κρατών και θεσμών, αλλά ως θεματοφύλακες μιας κοινής ευρωπαϊκής παρακαταθήκης. Μιας καταθήκης που γεννήθηκε μέσα από συγκρούσεις, μέσα από κρίσεις και εδραιώθηκε ως πηξίδα προόδου για ολόκληρη την Ήπειρό μας. Η Ευρώπη, κυρίες και κύριοι, οικοδομήθηκε στον διάλογο, στην αποδοχή της διαφωνίας, στην ικανότητα να μετατρέπει την πολυφωνία σε δύναμη σύνθεσης. Και η ενότητα μας δεν είναι αποτέλεσμα ομοιομορφίας και σίγουρα δεν είναι δεδομένη. Είναι συνειδητή πολιτική επιλογή. Και ακριβώς σε αυτή τη δύναμη του διαλόγου βρίσκεται η ανθεκτικότητα της δημοκρατίας που σήμερα δοκιμάζεται. Ζούμε σε μια εποχή έντονων γεωπολιτικών ανακατατάξεων και βαθιάς αβεβαιότητας. Η ρωσική εισβολή στην Ουκρανία μας υπενθύμισε εκκοφαντικά ότι η ειρήνη και η ασφάλεια στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ήπειρο δεν είναι δεδομένες. Άλλωστε, ό,τι συνέβη και στην Ουκρανία πριν από 4 ακριβώς χρόνια, συνέβη στη δική μου πατρίδα, στην Κύπρο, πριν από 52 χρόνια. Ως πολίτες ενός κράτους, λοιπόν, που γνωρίζει καλά τι σημαίνει κατάφορη παραβίαση του διεθνούς δικαίου, που γνωρίζει τι θα πει εισβολή και συνεχιζόμενη κατοχή, θα συνεχίσουμε να στηρίζουμε την Ουκρανία, αλλά και να παρακολουθούμε στενά όσα διαδραματίζονται στο ευρύτερο διεθνές περιβάλλον. Γιατί μας αφορά όλους και δεν κρίνεται μόνο η ανθεκτικά μας, αλλά και οι συνέπειες όλα αυτά που πρεσβεύουμε και διαχειρίζουμε. Κυρίες και κύριοι, η εποχή μας χαρακτηρίζεται από υπερπληροφόρηση, αλλά όχι από γνώση. Τα μέσα κοινωνικής δικτύωσης που θα μπορούσαν να ενισχύσουν τη συμμετοχή δημοκρατία συχνά λειτουργούν ως επιταχυντές παραπληροφόρησης. Το ψέμα διαδίδεται ταχύτερα από την τεκμηριωμένη άποψη. Και οι αλγόριθμοι επιβραβεύουν την ένταση και όχι την υφαλιότητα. Και επιπρόσθετα, η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη ισορροπεί ανάμεσα στην ελευθερία της έκφρασης και τη χειραγώγηση. Είναι μέσα σε αυτό το σκηνικό που ο φανατισμός βρίσκει πρόσφορο έδαφος. Οι κοινωνίες πολλώνονται, δημιουργούνται παράλληλες πραγματικότητες και η εμπιστοσύνη στους θεσμούς δοκιμάζεται. Τα στοιχεία του Ευρωβαρόμετρου καταγράφουν με σαφήνεια αυτή τη στοιχεία. Οι πολίτες ζητούν ασφάλεια, σταθερότητα, προοπτική. Ζητούν περισσότερη ενότητα και ζητούν αποτελεσματική πολιτική δράση. Εδώ ακριβώς σε αυτή τη συγκαιρία έρχεται η δική μας κρίσιμη ευθύνη ορών κοινοβουλίων του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου και των Εθνικών Κοινοβουλίων. Και αυτός να είναι πιο καθοριστικός και πολύτιμος. Είμαστε οι θεματοφύλακες της δημοκρατικής νομιμοποίησης. Ώστε να διασφαλίζουμε λογοδοσία, διαφάνεια και ουσιαστική συμμετοχή μακριά από προπαγάνδα, τοξικότητα και λαϊκισμό. Οφείλουμε να γεφυρώνουμε την απόσταση ανάμεσα στις ευρωπαϊκές αποφάσεις και την καθημερινότητα των πολιτών. Συχνά φαίνεται τεράστια, όμως στην πραγματικότητα δεν είναι, θα έλεγα το αντίθετο. Η ενίσχυση του διακοινοβουλευτικού διαλόγου δεν είναι διαδικαστική έλεια, είναι δημοκρατική αναγκαιότητα. Και μόνο μέσα από στενή συνεργασία μπορούμε να χαράξουμε ενιαίες ευρωπαϊκές πολιτικές που να αντιμετωπίζουν αποτελεσματικά τις στρατηγικές εξαρτήσεις στην ενέργεια και στις κρίσιμες πρότυπες, την ανάγκη για ισχυρότερες αμυντικές δυνατότητες, την ψηφιακή και πράσινη μετάβαση, τις δημογραφικές προκλήσεις και το έλλειμμα δεξιοτήτων, τις μεταναστευτικές πιέσεις και εργαλειοποίησή τους. Ξοχωτάτη κυρία Πρόεδρε, κυρίες και κύριοι. Σε αυτή ακριβώς την συγκυρία, ένα μικρό κράτος στο νοτιοανατολικότερο άκρο της Ευρώπης και μάλιστα ημικατεχόμενο σε ευρωπαϊκό έδαφος, αναλαμβάνει μια μεγάλη ευθύνη. Η Κύπρος, η πατρίδα, έχει την Προεδρία της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Σίγουρα το μέγεθος ενός κράτους δεν καθορίζει το αποτύπωμα του στην ευρωπαϊκή ιστορία. Αντιθέτως, η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση βασίζεται στην αρχή της ισοτιμίας μεταξύ των μελών. Η Κύπρος ως πλήρες κράτος μέλος της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης εδώ και 20 χρόνια και ενώ εξακολουθεί να βιώνει τις δυσμενείς συνέπειες της παράνομης κατοχής τμήματος της επικράτειας της από την Τουρκία, λαμβάνει την Προεδρία με πλήρη συναίσθηση ευθύνης. Φιλοδοξεί να λειτουργήσει ως έντιμη διαμεσολαβήτρια, να οικοδομήσει συγκλήσεις, να υπηρετήσει το κοινό ευρωπαϊκό συμφέρον, να ενισχύσει την ενότητα και την ανθεκτικότητα της Ευρώπης, γιατί θεωρούμε ότι έχουμε επιπρόσθετη υποχρέωση να το πράξουμε. Η γεωγραφική μας, η γεωστρατηγική μας θέση στην Ανατολική Μεσόγειο μας επιτρέπει να συμβάλλουμε ουσιαστικά στην ενίσχυση των σχέσεων της Ένωσης με τις χώρες της περιοχής και της Μέσης Ανατολής. Να προωθήσουμε μια εξωτερική πολιτική που δεν στηρίζεται μόνο σε οικονομικά συμφέροντα και στο σεβασμό του χάρτη των εθνών, του διεθνούς δικαίου και των ευρωπαϊκών αξιών. Γιατί ως μια μικρή νησιό τώρα θεωρούμε ότι η μεγαλύτερη διπλωματική μας επιτυχία είναι η συμμετοχή μας ως πλήρες μέλος στο ευρωπαϊκό οικοδόμημα. Και θεωρούμε επίσης εξαιρετική σημαντική την ευκαιρία που μας δίνεται αυτή τη στιγμή με την Προεδρία. Αντιλαμβανόμαστε, κυρίες και κύριοι, περισσότερο από ποτέ ότι δεν μπορούμε να ακολουθούμε τακτικές των 2 μέτρων και των 2 σταθμών, ούτε να υπερασπιζόμαστε το διεθνές δίκαιο επιλεκτικά, αλλά η στάση μας πρέπει να είναι σταθερή εντός ως Ευρώπης. Κυρία Πρόεδρε, κυρίες και κύριοι, η Ευρώπη βρίσκεται σε ένα κρίσιμο σταυροδρόμι. Οι προκλήσεις δεν επιτρέπουν και διστακτικά βήματα, ούτε και οπισθοδρόμοι. Έχουν στρατηγικά άλματα προς τα εμπρός με ελπίδα, με προοπτική, με πραγματική ικανότητα να δώσουμε λύσεις για τους πολίτες μας. Η πλήρης αξιοποίηση των δυνατοτήτων μας στην καινοτομία, στην παραγωγικότητα και την ανταγωνιστικότητα είναι απαραίτητη για να μην καταστεί η Ένωση ουραγός των παγκοσμίων εξελίξεων. Η μετάβαση πρέπει να παραμείνει φιλόδοξη αλλά πιο δίκαιη. Και το επόμενο πολιετές δημοσιονομικό πλαίσιο πρέπει να αντανακλά τις πραγματικές μας φιλοδοξίες. Και πάνω απ' όλα η Ευρώπη πρέπει να ηγηθεί, οφείλει να ηγηθεί. Να ηγηθεί στην υπεράσπιση της δημοκρατίας σε μια εποχή φανατισμού. Να ηγηθεί στην υπεράσπιση της αλήθειας σε μια εποχή παραπληροφόρησης. Να ηγηθεί στην πρόθεση της πολυμέρειας σε έναν κόσμο αυξανόμενου ανταγωνισμού ισχύως. Σε μια εποχή χάους, η Ευρώπη πρέπει να είναι δύναμη σταθερότητας. Σε μια εποχή πόλωσης, πρέπει να είναι παράδειγμα συνένεσης. Σε μια εποχή αβεβαιότητας πρέπει να προσφέρει ασφάλεια. Η ενότητα δεν σημαίνει απουσία διαφωνίας. Σημαίνει κοινή στρατηγική κατεύθυνση. Σημαίνει βασίστε.
Jango yongere.
saako tulwanaganye nnyo n'ebyuma enjopo Simon bonna bakakensa bali mu kulwanagana byuma kulanga tukutuusaako Parliamentary olunaku olwaleero. Kirungi nnyo tutandise nga abagenyi abayite Robert Kyagulanyi Sala Bireete okuva mu Uganda abagenda okuba nga bagasimbagana oba okukubaganya ebirowoozo tebannabatuuka, naye tutandise n'omukyalo oyo ye ayogera mu lulimi lwe waabwe. Kijja tuyamba nnyo okuba ng'osobola okugamba munno yenna oba mukwano gwo nti Parliament egenda otuula lwaleero Brussels Belgium tugenda kuba tugikutuusaako live. Ndowooza mu Uganda mwonna oba mu nsi yonna yonna fe abagenda okuba nga tukutuusaako Parliament eno kubanga tufumba emitwe, abantu bennina experts bafumba emitwe okulaba nga tukutuusaako kubanga teri linki yonna teri mukutu gonna agosobola okuba nga ojjako agundi eno okujja ng'ogenze n'owookinga bo bennyini live naye ffe tugenda kuba tukuleetera Parliament eno olutuula luno nga bwe lugenda okuba nga lutambula. Sigamba nti olina by'osubwa essaawa zino, tolina nnyo amaanyi kyosubwa gwali ku Mega Promotion TV nga wakyaliwo discussion abantu okuva mu mawanga ag'enjawulo ate ekyenjawulo ku bano nti mu Parliament ziri ezibadde ze tubadde tubaleetera oba summit oli abadde ayogera mu lulimi lwe ng'owuli abakuddira mu luzungu, naye kati ono ayogera mu lulimi lwe teri ataputa. Kitegeeza tolina kyosalwa okuba nga tuli mu kugattagatta ebyuma bino we tugenda okugira ddala ku mpewo nga His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu agenda kuba naye kwali essaawa ezinawerera 12 ate awo we tujja otandikirira ddala tukiseetinga era tukyatambula bulungi. Omukulu w'enjopo Engineer ate gattako Simon bannakyalo comedy naye wali so tukubulidde byonna ebibadde bitambula mu mawulire agatambudde leero mu Uganda naye si ekyo kyokka omulamwa gwe tuliko olunaku olwaleero gwa EU Parliament discussion biki byetusobola okuba nga tufunamu. Nze Katende Hood ndi n'enjopo n'omukulu Simon, ate bwe tunaamaliriza tujja kuba tubibaleetera olunaku olwaleero. Ndowooza kambazeeyo w'omukulu enjopo, simanyi oba setup ogimaze wali, simanyi oba ogimaze setup bulungi. Nsobola okubazaayo w'enjopo tulaye nga meeting bwegenda maaso. Batuyise Mega Promotion TV ebigenda maaso. Ate Simon lwaki omujje wano?
And ask, when Europe was tested, did we rise to the occasion? Across our union, and I'm sure you feel this in your respective national chambers, people feel that something is shifting. They feel it when they sit at the kitchen table at the end of the month trying to make the numbers work. They feel it when energy bills rise again, when risks climb higher, when the weekly costs are more than they did just 1 year ago. They worry that their children may not have the same opportunity that they themselves once had. Small business owners feel it acutely. Costs are up, competition is tougher, and sometimes they feel heavier than they should. At the same time, war continues on our continent. Tomorrow marks 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. 4 years that have completely changed how we think about security, and how this has reminded us how fragile peace can be. In fact, tomorrow we have a special extraordinary session of the plenary, and President Zelensky will address us. All of this is happening at the same time as the global economy shifts at extraordinary speed, with others investing heavily, moving very fast, shaping the future of technology and industry in ways that will define the next days. So I wanted to set this by starting to say all this because the challenges are many. But I would say also that our resolve to meet the moment is greater. Just a few days ago, at the informal leaders retreat and again at the Munich Security Conference, the message was crystal clear. Europe can no longer afford to drift. Small adjustments won't cut it anymore. The era of half measures is over. And that this is for decisions that match the scale of the challenges that we face together. And I believe Europe is capable of that. We proved the pandemic. We are proving it every day in our support for Ukraine, because when we act together, Europe can move mountains. Now, in each of these moments, it was our democracies all together that carried us through. It was national parliaments and this parliament taking responsibility, taking sometimes the most difficult, unprecedented decisions when it mattered most. And this week, here in the European Parliament, together with you, we can all show once again that democracy can deliver. Let me warmly welcome you all to the European Parliament for this 15th European Parliamentary Week. Dear Anita, I thank you and your colleagues at the House of Representatives of the Republic of Cyprus for coordinating this week with us. Anita and I have been friends for years. We have worked together constantly, faced common challenges, have had similar debates, whether in this Parliament and yours, as I for all of you. And when on 1st of January Cyprus took on the presidency of the Council, it could not have taken it at a more challenging time. And under President Christodoulides and with your Parliament fully engaged. You have provided steady leadership, and I want you to know that we truly appreciate the cooperation we have. Now, this week we are joined by well over 200 participants, including over 120 members from 27 national chambers across the European Union, as well as from 4 candidate countries: Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, North Macedonia and Serbia, and also from Norway. Each one of you brings with you the experience of shaping national budgets, of scrutinizing reforms, of explaining European decisions to people who expect answers. You know and you feel every day how policy translates into daily reality, how choices made here in Brussels and Strasbourg and in your own capitals affect people in towns and cities across Europe. You know what works on the ground and what needs to change. And that connection is so important, and that's why we invest so heavily in it. Because what we are discussing is essentially whether Europe can make life more affordable, whether we can bring greater stability to energy prices, whether we can create conditions for businesses to grow here in Europe rather than anywhere, whether we can invest in skills so that workers are prepared for change and that nobody is left behind. In this Parliament, what we are doing right now is we are pushing to complete the single market. We are pushing to remove the barriers, so many of them that still stand in our way. We are working to strengthen our energy union so supply is secure and more predictable. We are cutting unnecessary red tape that holds back entrepreneurs and innovators. And we are shaping a long-term budget that supports our regions, that backs our farmers and equips the next generation with real opportunities. But none of this will work in isolation. And for this we need you completely. European decisions work if they reflect national realities. Each election after election, we learn more and more. And if such decisions are explained clearly at home, and you are that bridge, so over the next 2 your discussions will help shape how we move forward. So this is no ordinary week, for more reasons than one. I mentioned a special sitting tomorrow of the European Parliament. This will be a moment to reaffirm our commitment and support to Ukraine and to show that Europe is challenged, it stands together and it acts together. So all of you are invited to follow that sitting from the tribunes, and I truly hope that many of you will as we mark that moment of unity and of love. So colleagues, this is truly Europe's moment. The people who placed their trust in us when it's to the ballot box, they are watching what we do. They expect us to act, and we cannot afford to hesitate. So over the next 2 days, let us match words with action and show that when Europe is tested, it rises to the occasion. So now, it is my true honor to give the floor, my dear friend, to the President of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Cyprus, dear Anita, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear Roberta, and allow me to send my warmest greetings to each and every one of you. And you allow me, of course, to speak my mother language in Greek. Εξοχότατη κυρία Πρόεδρε του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου, πολύ καλή φίλη της Κύπρου, αλλά και προσωπική μου φίλη, αγαπητή μου Ρομπέρτα, αξιότιμα μέλη, αγαπημένοι του Βουλής των Αντιπροσώπων, αξιότιμα μέλη του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου, εκλεκτοί προσκεκλημένοι, εκπρόσωποι των ευρωπαϊκών θεσμών και εθνικών κοινοβουλίων, εκπρόσωποι των αρχών και αξιών της ευρωπαϊκής μας ταυτότητας και προοπτικής. Είναι πραγματικά με ιδιαίτερη χαρά εμείς που κηρύσσουμε σήμερα την έναρξη των εργασιών της Ευρωπαϊκής Κοινοβουλευτικής Εβδομάδας που συνδιοργανώνεται από το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο και Βουλή των Αντιπροσώπων της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας στο πλαίσιο της κοινοβουλευτικής διάστασης της Κυπριακής Προεδρίας του Συμβουλίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Και επιτρέψτε μου να εκφράσω τις θερμές μου ευχαριστίες προς το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο και βεβαίως φίλη πρόεδρο του Τενήσια και τη φιλοξενία της παρούσας διάσκεψης στις Βρυξέλλες. Συναντιόμαστε σήμερα όχι απλώς ως εκπρόσωποι κρατών και θεσμών, αλλά ως θεματοφύλακες μιας κοινής ευρωπαϊκής παρακαταθήκης. Μια καταθήκης που γεννήθηκε μέσα από συγκρούσεις, ορίμασε μέσα από κρίσεις και εδραιώθηκε ως πηξίδα πρόοδου για ολόκληρη την Ήπειρό μας. Η Ευρώπη, κυρίες και κύριοι, οικοδομήθηκε στον διάλογο, στην αποδοχή της διαφωνίας, στην ικανότητα να μετεί την πολυφωνία σε δύναμη σύνθεσης. Και η ενότητά μας δεν είναι αποτέλεσμα ομοιομορφίας, σίγουρα δεν είναι δεδομένη. Είναι συνειδητή πολιτική επί. Και ακριβώς σε αυτή τη δύναμη του διαλόγου βρίσκεται η ανθεκτικότητα της δημοκρατίας μας που σήμερα δοκιμάζεται. Ζούμε σε μια εποχή έντονων γεωπολιτικών και βαθιάς αβεβαιότητας. Η ρωσική εισβολή στην Ουκρανία μας υπενθύμισε εκκοφαντικά ότι η ειρήνη και η ασφάλεια στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ήπειρο δεν είναι δεδομένες. Άλλωστε, ότι συνέβη και στην Ουκρανία πριν από 4 ακριβώς χρόνια, στη δική μου πατρίδα, στην Κύπρο, πριν από 52 χρόνια. Ως πολίτες ενός κράτους, λοιπόν, που γνωρίζει καμένη παραβίαση του διεθνούς δικαίου, που γνωρίζει τι θα πει εισβολή και συνεχιζόμενη κατοχή, θα συνεχίσουμε να στηρίζουμε την Ουκρανία, αλλά και να παρακολουθούμε στενά όσα διαδραματίζονται στο ευρύτερο διεθνές περιβάλλον. Για μας αφορά όλους και δεν κρίνεται μόνο η ανθεκτικότητά μας, αλλά και η συνέπεια μας σε όλα αυτά που πρεσβεύουμε και διακηρύττουμε. Και κύριε, η εποχή μας χαρακτηρίζεται από υπερπληροφόρηση, αλλά όχι από γνώση. Τα μέσα κοινωνικής δικτύωσης που θα μπορούσαν να ενισχύσουν τη συμμετοχική δημοκρατία συχνά λειτουργούν ως επιταχυντές παραπληροφόρησης. Το ψέμα διαδίδεται ευρύτερα από την τεκμηριωμένη άποψη. Και οι αλγόριθμοι επιβραβεύουν την ένταση και όχι την υφαλότητα. Και επιπρόσθετα, η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη ισορροπεί ανάμεσα στην ελευθερία της φράσης και τη χειραγώγηση. Είναι ακριβώς με όπου ο φανατισμός βρίσκει πρόσφορο έδαφος. Οι κοινωνίες πολλώνονται, δημιουργούνται παράλληλες πραγματικότητες και η εμπιστοσύνη στους δοκιμάζεται. Τα στοιχεία του Ευρωβαρόμετρου καταγράφουν με σαφήνεια αυτή την ανησυχία. Οι πολίτες ζητούν ασφάλεια, σταθερότητα, προοπτική. Ζητούν περισσότερη ενότητα και ζητούν αποτελεσματική πολιτική δράση. Εδώ ακριβώς σε αυτή τη συγκαιρία έρχεται η δική μας κρίσιμη ευθύνη, ο ρόλος των κοινοβουλίων, του Ευρωπαϊκού Κοινοβουλίου και των Εθνικών Κοινοβουλίων. Και αυτός να είναι πιο καθοριστικός και πολύτιμος. Είμαστε οι θεματοφύλακες της δημοκρατικής νομιμοποίησης. Οφείλουμε να ασφαλίσουμε λογοδοσία, διαφάνεια και ουσιαστική συμμετοχή μακριά από προπαγάνδα, τοξικότητα και λαϊκισμό. Οφείλουμε να γεφυρώνουμε την απόσταση ανάμεσα στις ευρωπαϊκές αποφάσεις και την καθημερινότητα των πολιτών. Συχνά τεράστια, όμως στην πραγματικότητα δεν είναι. Θα έλεγα το. Η ενίσχυση του διακοινοβουλευτικού διαλόγου δεν είναι διαδικαστική πολυτέλεια, είναι δημοκρατική αναγκαιότητα. Μόνο μέσα από στενή συνεργασία μπορούμε να χαράξουμε ενιαίες ευρωπαϊκές πολιτικές που να αντιμετωπίζουν αποτελεσματικά τις εξαρτήσεις στην ενέργεια και στις κρίσιμες πρώτες ύλες, την ανάγκη για ισχυρότερες αμυντικές δυνατότητες, την ψηφιακή και πράσινη μετάβαση, δημογραφικές προκλήσεις και το έλλειμμα δεξιοτήτων, τις μεταναστευτικές πιέσεις και την εργαλειοποίησή τους. Ξοπάτη, κυρίες και κύριοι. Σε αυτή ακριβώς τη συγκυρία, ένα μικρό κράτος στο νοτιοανατολικότερο άκρο της Ευρώπης και μάλιστα ημικόμενο σε ευρωπαϊκό έδαφος, αναλαμβάνει μια μεγάλη ευθύνη. Η Κύπρος, η πατρίδα μου, έχει την τιμή να ασκεί την Προεδρία του Συμβουλίου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Σίγουρα το μέγεθος ενός κράτους δεν καθορίζει το αποτύπωμα του στην ιστορία. Αντιθέτως, η ευρωπαϊκή ενοποίηση βασίζεται στην αρχή της ισοτιμίας μεταξύ των κρατών μελών. Η Κύπρος ως πλήρες κράτος μέλος της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης εδώ 20 χρόνια εξακολουθεί να βιώνει τις δυσμενείς συνέπειες της παράνομης κατοχής τμήματος της επικράτειας της από την Τουρκία. Αναλαμβάνει την Προεδρία με πλήρη συναίσθηση ευθύνης. Φιλοδοξεί να λειτουργήσει ως έντιμη διαμεσολαβήτρια, να οικοδομήσει συγκλήσεις, να υπηρετήσει το κοινό ευρωπαϊκό συμφέρον, να ενισχύσει την ενότητα και ανθεκτικότητα της Ευρώπης, γιατί θεωρούμε ότι έχουμε επιπρόσθετη υποχρέωση να το πράξουμε. Η δική μας η γεωστρατηγική μας θέση στην Ανατολική Μεσόγειο μας επιτρέπει να συμβάλλουμε ουσιαστικά στην ενίσχυση σχέσεων της Ένωσης με τις χώρες της περιοχής Μέσης Ανατολής. Να προωθήσουμε μια εξωτερική πολιτική που δεν στηρίζεται μόνο σε οικονομικά συμφέροντα, αλλά και στο σεβασμό του χάρτη των Ηνωμένων Δικαίου και των ευρωπαϊκών αξιών. Γιατί ως μια μη νησιώτικη θεωρούμε ότι η μεγαλύτερη διπλωματική μας επιτυχία είναι η συμμετοχή μας ως πλήρες μέλος στο ευρωπαϊκό οικοδόμημα. Και θεωρούμε εξαιρετική την ευθύνη με την. Αντιλαμβανόμαστε, κυρίες και κύριοι, περισσότερο από ποτέ ότι δεν μπορούμε να προτακτικές των 2 μέτρων και των 2 σταθμών, ούτε να υπερασπιζόμαστε το διεθνές δίκαιο επιλεκτικά, αλλά η στάση μας πρέπει να είναι σταθερή εντός και εκτός Ευρώπης. Κυρία Πρόεδρε, κυρίες και κύριοι, η Ευρώπη βρίσκεται σε ένα κρίσιμο σταυροδρόμι. Οι προκλήσεις τρέφουν μικρά και διστακτικά
Abuterevu. Mega Promotion TV. Mega Promotion TV.
Η πλήρης αξιοποίηση των δυνατοτήτων μας στην καινοτομία, στην παραγωγικότητα και
Alright, buterevu Mega Promotion TV njagala kubanga mwena gye musinzidde batuusaako ebigenda maaso bwetyo bwe tubanga tugenda batuusaako buli kimu ekiri mu EU Parliament oba European Union. Njawo kwebaza mwena abagiriko comment section tubalaba mujjudde musaawa dakiika ntini nnyo tugenda kubanga tweyungibwako His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu wabula eddakiika enjopo wabula eddakiika meka wabula eddakiika 9 mwenna abalindiridde pulezidenti beera ng'ogamba bannammwe bonna ababeere nga batujoyininga ku Mega Promotion TV olunaku olwaleero. Anja kubanga mbeebaza mwenna ababeera nga muli mu comment section nga mugamba nti ekintu kino mukiriko. Njaga kwebaza Sebuliba Ivan, njaga kwebaza Nakabuye Swabla, mwenna Mega Promotion TV. Bintu bingi nnyo tugenda batuusaako. Omukyala mulabye abadde ayogera ku biki ebiri e Ukraine na biki ebigenda maaso. Essaawa zino tugenda kuba nga twolekera mu ddakiika ssaawa 12 zennyini His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu agenda kuba nga ayingirawo n'omukyala Sarah Bireete olunaku olwaleero. Nja kuba nga mbebaza mwenna abakyatambula naffe ku Mega Promotion TV. Sigamba nti mulina ekyamaanyi ennyo kye musubwa nga tuseetinga bulungi His Excellency, jjukira ffe gwe tusinze okulinda, era gamba munno kubira munno mugambe nti His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu tugenda beera naye ku Mega Promotion TV essaawa weziwerera 12 mu ssaawa ddakiika ntono nnyo tugenda kweyunga mu lukiiko luli e Brussels. Tugenda era kuddayo mu ddakiika ntono nnyo tubeere nga tweyunga ku His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ne Sarah Bireete olunaku olwaleero. Enjopo kiki osobola okuba nga oyogerako okusinziira ku bwe tutandise n'okuyiiyayiya engeri gye sobola ofuna puroguramu eno etambule?
Puroguramu eno bagirestrictinze nnyo okusobola okugiweereza. Jjukira nti gye bakoma okubeera nga bagiweereza, mujjukirako omulundi guli oguwedde nti abasikulu websites zaabwe bannayuganda mulaga nnyo omukwano mungi. Websites ezo zijira ne zibeera down olwa traffic abeerako mungi nnyo. So awamu bali restrictinga olumu bajjako ne comment sections, so okubeera nga bannansi tebenyigira nnyo direct mu kulaga side gye bagwa. Nabo baba balina engeri gye baanalyzingamu ensonga zaabwe okutuuka ku ekyo. So tuvuba nnyo okulaba nga tubaleetera buli kimu, tugenda kuba nga tubaweereza. Tubulayo ndowooza eddakiika ziringa mu 7 ku 8.
Enjopo biki byosuubira mweno, kubanga ebiseera ebisinga tubadde tuleeta meetings zino entuula zino nga tuzibalaga abantu. Ku luno lwaki olutuula luno lwanjawulo nnyo, ki kyosuubira ekyamaanyi?
Tuze tulaba ebintu bingi nnyo ebituukibwako. Omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu okutuuka we yaviira ewaka ewuwe, kitulaga nti yayina ebintu bingi nnyo by'alina osooka okutambuza nga tali waka wuwe, era gwe mulamwa gwakyaliko gwatambuza. Nti twalabye omukyala bamuyita Mijani So Black gwe basamoninze wali abadde akiikirira Uganda mu nsonga za ICC International Criminal Court, gattako n'ebintu bingi nnyo byabadde azaakolera Uganda mu kugizibira kale ebintu ebibeerawo. Tetugambye nti mbu n'ebirungi Uganda byekolawo ebiri, ne waliwo ebikwatibwako naddala nga ku ddembe ly'obuntu okusobola okubeera ng'omukulu yeeremeza mu ntebe. Okitegeera, wabaawo bangi nnyo ababikkirira ekintu ekyo. Sofa tugenda tulaba omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu n'amagye no tegannava waka wuwe, bino nno bikyagenda mu maaso. Atulabyeko omukulu Lutumwa Kisoke Lutumwa nga agamba nti agambye nti Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu tebannamugulako misango gya treason nga bwe babadde bagamba. Naye twalabyeko omukulu eyagambye nti mbu tuyinza omugulako emisango gy'okulya mu nsi ye olukwe olw'ensonga engeri gyazikwatamu okuzitwala eri mu mawanga ag'ebweru. Kale babadde batulaga wano eno nti mbu Uganda nsi yeetengeredde era yeetwala yokka, naye okusinziira ku biriwo obudde buno kitulaga nti mbu munaage ensi ebeera ne bakitaawe baayo.
Enjopo nkugobye, genda otereze ebyuma kuba tubulizaayo eddakiika 6 zokka. Simon, olina kyosobola okwogerako?
Nze mu kutunuulira ennyo ntunuulidde nnyo omukyalo ono agoberera eddembe ly'abantu, bamuyita omukyala Bireete, Sarah Bireete. So mu mbeera eyo nze mbadde ndowooza nti bajja kwogera nnyo okusingira ddala olwaleero ku ddembe ly'abantu, saako olw'embeera kubanga omukyalo oyo yatambula nnyo viral. Ayinza okuba nti naye ejja kuba nsonga nkulu nnyo ey'okutunuulirwa ku mulundi guno, ate nga n'abantu bangi nnyo boolyawo abakyasibiddwa mu makomera. Kitegeezebwa nti ayinza okuba nti kyo Kyagulanyi byazze abagamba onazze okuteekako omukono n'okukakasa ebyo, kubanga nti bayinza okuba badde babeesingidde ku ye sayidi eri yekka, ate ono bw'ajja n'ateekamu n'okwemfasayizinga n'agamba nti kyekyo ekituufu ekiriyo, ate nga genda zaawukana, nti ono mukyala ono mwami
kati Simon
so,
nga sinakutagenda naawe kubanga ogenda kuba oli wali bano abantu abagamba mutuyambe basaba ffe please we need change obagamba ki already mu comment section balaba nga ffe tusobola okubata
nedda oba oli awo information zino zitambula abazisoma so wali abantu abakwatibwako abantu abakwatibwako they will do what they will do they will do the needful then buli kimu kisobola okuba nga kitambula mu mbeera efaanana bwetyo tukubiriza bw'obanga olina obuyinza yonna gy'oli osobola okuyamba abantu bano bantu balaba mu komenti wano nti enjala n'obusungu bungi nnyo so abakulu bekikwatako musobola okuba nga mutereeza embeera eno
kati nga nkwerekereza Simon nga ngenda kwerekereza kati nga Uganda kubanga jjukira nti omubaka oba ambasada wa Uganda e Brussels be yabadde ayitiddwa okugenda mu olwo olukuŋŋaana Uganda nga Uganda government ekintu ekyo mu ddakiika emu olowooza kigisala oba kigikolera obutagenda
Uganda yes azinga yo kandibadde akaseera akatuufu ak'okwewozaako otegedde naye nti tebasobodde kiba kitegeeza nti bonna abakulu balwe bagenda reportinga engwala egenda kuluma so katulinde omukulu asobole okubanga atuwulira biki ebigenda maaso
buterevu oba muyise omukulu Simon y'omu ku bantu abali okubanga batekamu obwongo okubanga tubalaga meeting eno oba olutuula luno nga lugenda mu maaso n'enjopo mwamuwulidde be bamu ku bali mu kulwana okubanga tulaba ekifaananyi ekirungi mu ddakiika ntono nnyo Simon mwerekereza agenda kubanga asetinga biki byagenda okubanga atuwa ku screen wawulira nga tusirise kitegeeza Simon n'enjepo babeera bakutuusaako ebigenda mu maaso ebifaananyi ebyo naye nga tujja pozinga nga mutuveeyo tukunnyonnyola ebiki ebinaaba bitambula His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu tumusuubira mu ssaawa 12 okudisikasinga eddembe ly'obuntu ng'omukulu Simon bw'agambye Mega Promotion TV gwe wenna bw'oba olina mukwano gwo mukubire Kasimu omugambe atege guno omukutu era temukoma kulaba kwokka munyiga akade era musubscribinge tubeera ne program ezisomesa nnyingi nnyo ezigenda mu maaso era nja kusaba enjopo onkubire akagundi ako ka intro kaffe nga bwe tuyingira mu Parliament ekigenda okuba nga kivaayo nkubira intro eyo ate tubeere nga tukomawo
mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula biki ebifa ku sereebu wo ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula biki ebifa ku sereebu wo ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu
katende hudu nzimba twala olunaku olwaleero olutuula lwo lugenda mu maaso mu seconds ndowooza nga 10 tugenda kuba tuyingirawo abasajja bakola butaweera enjopa akola butaweera Simon akola butaweera okubanga mufuna ekifaananyi mwena abakomentinga mwebale nnyo kubanga mukomentinga messages zammwe tuziraba Justin Pesh mwebale kubanga mukomentinga Nannyondo twagala obbalaga nti tuli live bino ebintu tusiga nti biri recorded tuli live kawoya Faizo mwebale kubanga okoze eki yesaawa ndowooza tuyingire Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yatuuse dda olunaku olwaleero enjopo tuteeke yes bajja tukuba copyright msoke mu video yes Yes, bwe tutyo nga bwe tusetinga twatandise dda link yatandise dda olunaku olwaleero kyatandise dda era tutandise okuba nga tukibatuusako nga bwe kitambula. Omukulu Simon funa ekifaananyi abantu bakirabe nga kyekyo ne sawundi obeere nga ogituwa. Enjopo tutwaleko katini tusooke tuwulire kyekigenda mu maaso ku mukulu awo oba twandize ne ku screen yaffe eyo yennyini kubanga sawundi tugera gifuna tutya. Agwali ku Mega Promotion TV tuli mu kuyiiya mukulu Kyagulanyi yatuuse dda era ndowooza tukusampolinzeeko ng'atandika okwogera awo. Katufune eddoboozi mukulu Enjopo, tulabe eddoboozi tulifuna tutya. Kiri okay? Alright. Alright, buli kimu kijja. Enjopo ansuubiza. Yes, gwali ku Mega Promotion TV tuli live. Njagala kubeebaza mwenna abakomentinga nemuyite n'abalala babeere nga batweyungako. Tusetinga okufuna nebino ebifaananyi si kyangu kubanga era ng'Enjopo bwe yabannyonnyodde nti oluvannyuma lw'okuba Geneva Summit eri gye twabalaga bannayuganda baali bangi nnyo ne baba nga baagira baali bangi nnyo ne bakola jjaamu ku mutimbagano. Olwaleero bastrictinze nnyo okuba nga bagaba bagaba linki zaabwe okubaako abantu. Ffe ne tugamba tujja kukozesa obukugu. Abakugu bennina essaawa zino bamaze okuba nga bakikola. Katugenderewo ddala mu lukiiko olutuula luno tulabe. Enjopo tuddeyo kweyo kompyuta yaffe ndowooza kwe tuba tukulira.
Nga obudde buno obalaba tebanaba kutandika session ne bakyali mu discussions.
Ate Kyagulanyi mulabi abadde
Kyagulanyi babadde bamuleeta ku video okulaga nti waali ali ready. He is ready.
Okay.
Yes, baba balina okulaba abona bagenda okubeerawo bali okay with their network, internet, whatever.
Yes, Mega Promotion TV ndowooza buli ekigenda mu maaso mukiraba. Omwami Simon tereza bulungi kamera simanyi awo aneka light kabulamu oba kajja kubaka gundi kaki anyway gwe tuwe like following tuli ku YouTube tuli live Mega Promotion TV ita muno comment section mbalaba mwe bali kubanga mu commentinga buli kimu kitambula bulungi. Tugenda kubanga tuboolekeza ekintu mukiranga bwe kitambula asigama nti kitandise. Ebyo nga bw'okiraba ku screen yo olukiiko bwe lutyo bwe lugenda okuba nga lutandika. Atulaye ku mukulu Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ng'alaga nti abadde nga testinga eddoboozi liri clear bamaze omutestinga era buli ffenna tumaze okukonfaminga. Obwedda abambuuza nti President aluwa kubira munno omugambe atutege Mega Promotion TV buli kimu tugenda kuba tukiraba olunaku olwaleero. Njagala okubeebaza abakyali mu comment section mwebale mbalaba kibuuka leo Museveni must go. Yes, katulabe kyekinavayo olunaku olwaleero. Robert Muguriachi webale kubanga nawe kwoli onakola tuli live Matovu Rogers sharing live eno kijja tuyambako nnyo okubanga abantu bano abamikwano gyaffe agifuna program eno engeri gyetambula. Gwali ku Mega Promotion TV tukutuusaako live eri Brussels. Tugenda kubeera n'omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu mu EU Parliament oluvannyuma lw'okubanga bamuyita ne tuze tulaba nga tubatuusako ku Mega Promotion TV nga tubatuusako entuula ez'enjawulo. Twabatuusako summit eyali Geneva olunaku oluwedde. Mwaliko kuno mwalaba Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yavaayo n'ayogera ebintu bingi ebyali mu kalulu naye tulabira ddala nga naero n'olunaku olwaleero Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ze era ali redde. Waigongolo Trevor agamba redde. Yes, Waigongolo sharinga redde. Yes, Waigongolo sharinga ne banna abalala bajje tubeere nga tubeera tumakinga abantu nga like 500 Mega Promotion TV eyokka ne botambula emikutu gyonna emirala tewali asobola kubanga asobola okutuusako live eno. President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu wagenda otuukira mbeera njagala nga mujjudde. Ndowooza ekigenda maaso mukiraba. Sigamba nti musubwa oba kyatandise dda just ba setting up tulabe ki ekiba kitambula. Batuyise Mega Promotion TV buli lunaku atubeera n'ebisanyusa, tubeera n'ebizimba, tubeera n'analysis ez'enjawulo n'abantu ab'enjawulo. Bwambale Amon Byarhanga, you mean Mr. President is in EU? President agenda kozesa, agenda kuyita ku Zoom, era tumulabye awo tubateereddeyo awo ekifaananyi nga batestinga ddoboozi wagenda okuyita. Agenda omukyala Bireete ye kyemmanyi agenda kubeerayo physically, naye President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu tagenda kubeerayo physically, agenda kozesa Zoom oba agenda kuba ateeseza ku mutimbagano. Ndowooza Bwambale Amon Byarhanga nkuzzeemu. Message musigale nga musindikira ddala kuba bwe tugenda tutandika bawa maloboozi agagenda mu maaso. Ebifaananyi ebyo bye mulaba ebigenda mu maaso tekitegeeza nti Parliament etandise, kitegeeza bali mu kupreparinga beetegeka okubanga gwe nno atamanyi Brussels kibuga kiri Belgium eyo oluvannyuma lw'okubanga UN oba ebitongole by'eddembe ly'obuntu omwami Bobi Wine yaloopayo emisango egy'okutulugunya eddembe ly'obuntu n'akalulu engeri gye katambula. Kyensonga lwaki bamuyise ajja ayongere okutaanya kweza ensonga, era ajjukira baadde bagambye ne gavumenti ya wano ebeere ng'ekiikirirwa ambassador omukyala Black. So abeere nga abakiikirira, naye gavumenti ya wano yavuddeyo ne position negamba yo tegenda kubanga esindikayo muntu yenna tesobola kugenda kwewozaako na Kyagulanyi. Tujja ekyo kikubaganyako ebirowoozo nga Parliament eno ewedde akireka wa Uganda. Keshiva Vipers, Museveni killed our Butambala. Okay, Museveni killed our in Butambala, our people in Butambala. Okay, Kesh IV Kesha Vipers SC ndowooza muwagizi wa SC Vipers webale kuba mbadde njagala Keshi naawe obeere nga bambi sharinga Waigongolo Trevor. The problem has been with time violation, we are now working on it. Okay. Kyekyo kye bayita protest vote. Mwena adde babuuza nti omukulu Kyagulanyi yatugamba akalulu ajja kabanja ate kati yeekwese. Nedda ssebo, Kyagulanyi kyekino kye bayita okubanja essaawa zino abanja kalulu. Essaawa zino Kyagulanyi kyaliko essaawa zino kye bayita okubanja eyo protest vote ekyagenda mu maaso. Gwe wenna ali ku live eno yita munno abeere nga atweyungako olabe biki ebigenda okuba nga bigenda mu maaso. The problem has been with time violation, we are now working variation. We are now working on it. Okay, yeah. Njagala kulaba wano Matovu Rogers n'abalala bangi kibuuka leo. Robert Mungurachi, Robert nawe tukulabye. Kawoya Faizo, Justin Nanyonga, Robina, muli bangi nnyo. So mushalinge live ate tubeere nga tutambula olunaku olwayo. Batuyise Mega Promotion TV. Agwe wenna gy'oli olukiiko lugenda kubanga lutandika. Raymond Sali nawe weebale kubanga kwoli Museveni must go. Hashtag ekintu ekyo kiwandiike hashtaginge muno babeere Samson na yeebale weebale kubanga naawe kwoli na yeebale. Tuli ku live olwaleero tuli mu Parliament eya Brussels. Ndowooza yes, katuulizeemuko katini kansoke mbaweeko tuulizeemuko ekigenda mu maaso. Yes.
Afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for joining us here and online. Please be informed that this meeting is web streamed. We have an invitation in English, French, and German. The draft agenda has been sent to you. I don't see any remarks. The agenda is adopted. I also want to go over to point 2, the draft minutes for a meeting of 14th of January was to you beforehand. I don't see any comments. You can still send in comments till tomorrow morning, and then the draft minutes will be approved. Dear colleagues, I just finished the meeting of the Joint Bureau of the Africa-European Parliamentary Assembly, and I'm happy to inform you that we will have begun preparations for the inaugural assembly, which will be held from 12 to 14 May in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. We will discuss this in more detail at our next meeting in Strasbourg in March. And then we now come to the political part of that. Today, the exchange of view on the political situation in Uganda, specifically on the context of the 2026 elections and the post-electoral situation, in the presence of Mr. Robert Kayugalanyi, Bobi Wine, the leader of the National Unity Platform, main opposition party in Uganda. He is in remote connection. Then we have Dr. Sarah Bireete, chair of the Global Network of Domestic Election Monitors and executive director of the Uganda Civic Organization Center for Constitutional Governance. She's also remotely connected. And then we have here with us Mr. Jonas Johnson, head of division A Africa 5, Horn of Africa, East Africa. Dear colleague, distinguished guests, good afternoon. I'm pleased to welcome you again. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Today's session will be held on the political situation in Uganda. Like I said, I welcomed already our two guests. The exchange follows on the adoption of the European Parliament's resolution 12 February situation in Uganda, threats against opposition leader Bobi Wine. Let me first underline that is an important partner for Europe in terms of regional peace and security. Uganda is a primary troop contributor to regional peacekeeping, particularly in Syria, and it plays a key role in mediating conflicts in South Sudan and the DRC. Uganda is also a major refugee hosting nation, influencing regionality by providing refuge and security to a number of displaced persons. As partners, we want to work together to improve the situation of the Ugandan population. At the same time, we must be clear that our commitment to human rights and fundamental freedoms in the European Parliament is non-negotiable. We will not shy away from difficult conversation and will not contribute to the silencing of opposition. In the spirit of partnership, as illustrated by the Samoa Agreement, we wanted to have an opportunity to discuss these issues of concern with the government of Uganda. Unfortunately, the ambassador couldn't be here today with us, but we will sure make a new appointment so that you can also have an exchange of view with the ambassador. It is important to note that accountability is one of the central principles of democracy as it applies to EU treaties. As part of its oversight role within the EU institutions and parliamentary diplomacy, the European Parliament regularly adopts resolutions on electoral processes worldwide, particularly when credible reports raise strong concerns. Resolutions are an essential means by which the European Parliament expresses its view on political processes, EU politics and global developments. The Parliament also uses resolutions to scrutinize other EU institutions, including the European Council, as part of its democratic oversight with the European Union. In the resolution on Uganda, it was adopted on the 12th February, which was supported by an overwhelming majority of members, 514 votes in favor, 3 against, and 56 abstentions. Note serious concerns regarding the conduct and aftermath of the Ugandan general elections held on the 15th of January 2026, which has unfailed to meet fundamental democratic standards. That opposition leaders such as Robert Kayugalanyi, its Bobi Wine, and Sarah Bireete were particularly targeted in a very alarming manner, with arbitrary arrests, prolonged detention and even disappearances. This is why we called in our resolution for the end of all violence, threats, harassment, arbitrary detention of opposition activists and critics, the dropping of all politically motivated charges, the lifting of arbitrary suspension of civil society groups, and the organization of comprehensive electoral and institutional reform to ensure the independence of the Electoral Commission and judiciary, We also called for independent and impartial investigations into crimes against humanity committed by Indian political and military leaders, and into similar crimes committed by politicians and military in other African countries. We have here with us today NUP leader Mr. Bobi Wine, who himself has been a subject of institutional harassment and who said that his wife and children fled Uganda for fear of their lives following the January 15 presidential election. The European Parliament resolution also mentioned very serious concerns about how the opposition has been treated in the run-up, during and after the elections. We are eager to hear an update from your side. We would also welcome some concrete ideas on the way forward for Uganda. Dear sir, you have the floor. Good afternoon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, friends. I appreciate so much the opportunity. I want to appreciate the European Union Parliament for the resolution on Uganda and for keeping an eye on Uganda. We don't take it for granted. Every time we see development partners keeping an eye on what is happening here in Uganda. We also recognize that the EU is an important partner to Uganda, and we intend to maintain and also improve this partnership and this cooperation. We would also love to see this relationship happening between the people of Uganda, the European Union, not just Museveni's illegitimate military regime. I'm still on the run. I'm still in hiding because of the continuing threats on life since what happened on the 16th of January when my house was, my compound was raided and I fled my house. And also the following raid that happened on the 23rd of January, where my wife was assaulted and my family members were assaulted, and the military took over my home, which the military still occupies to the present day. My home is surrounded and the military is in charge of it now. What happened on the 15th of January and the preceding days was not an election. It was a military operation, and I'm very glad that it was clearly stated during the debate in the European Union Parliament. This violence started much earlier. It started on nomination day, and it went through the campaign trail. And I'm glad that the resolution mentions in specifics things like Mr. Chokero, who was shot and killed, and also General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is the military chief and son of General Museveni, came out on Twitter and, mentioned how he killed 22 of our people, and hoping that I would be the 23rd. I must mention, though, the numbers that he put are much less. Maybe he mentioned or he meant those that he killed personally. Otherwise, the numbers that we have of the victims, of the people that have been killed, are much more than 22. Many civil society organizations closed down, especially those that are in the area of governance. It was mentioned, and I want to reiterate it again, that the internet was shut down 3 days before the election. Media houses were ordered not to relay the results that were happening and all that was going on ground on the polling stations, to ensure that there is a clear disconnect between what was happening in the polling stations and what was being relayed by the Electoral Commission. I'm very glad that Dr. Sarah Bireete is with us today. In this meeting, she was arrested, detained, because she was taking an effort to speak out and educate people, the citizens of Uganda, about their rights and on democracy. I mentioned it that 2 of my deputy presidents were abducted on the eve of the election, and they remained missing for 3 weeks. We learned that they were being detained in military barracks, in a special forces military barracks, which is run by General Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Most of our coordinators arrested were picked and detained. Some are still in detention, while some were dropped off. This also included officials from our election management committee. So what Mr. Byabakama, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, relayed was actually completely different from what happened on the grounds. The law requires that there must be, coordination in the tallying of the results. That did not happen. The candidates were not given copies of declaration of result forms, and the Electoral Commission simply declared numbers that it did not justify where they were coming from. As we see, we are still demanding that the Electoral Commission uploads the declaration forms so that the nation can be able to follow in transparency, so we can be able to compare the evidence that we have, the declaration of result forms that we have, to what was paraded by the Electoral Commission. But up to now, they have not uploaded the results on the internet like it's supposed to be. Somebody asked, why then didn't we go to court? But we've mentioned it again that institutions in Uganda have all been destroyed, including the judiciary. The manner of appointment of the Chief Justice recently is evidence to that. The justice was sworn in General Museveni's farm. So that and many other reasons cause us not to have, trust in the judiciary in Uganda, and many times the regime, General Museveni or his son, have actually given.
Yes, Mega Promotion TV, mwe abakyaliko mwena, kigenda maaso, nga bwe tubagamba nti omukulu Robert Kyagulanyi essaawa zino akwali okubanga akola ki? Kendeeza kukudobozi. Okubanga ayogerako negiri olunaku olwaleero mu Parliamentary eyo EU mu kibuga Brussels. Omukyala Vitamans ye president era yayanjudde yabaddenga omwanjuzi wa programu eno, n'agamba olunaku olwaleero bagenda beera n'essaala Bireete ate n'omukulu Kyagulanyi Ssentamu mpozi n'omwami gwe bayita Yunus Johnson mpozi n'omwami gwe bayita Yunus Jonathan. Essaawa zino katusooke tubatuuseeko amaloboozi nga n'ebifaananyi bwe bijja mpola mpola. Enjopo sooka otuwe ku maloboozi ga Kyagulanyi.
Thank you for God and my country.
Thank you very much. I can promise we will do that. I make sure as a chair of the Delegation EU Africa that we will keep an eye on Uganda and we will follow up the situation very closely. We have also here with us today prominent human rights lawyer and expert on constitutional governments, Dr. Sarah Bireete, who was arrested a few days before the vote to give us her own account on the situation from the civil society perspective. You have the floor, Dr. Bireete. Welcome in this meeting. We don't hear you. Maybe put the mic on the technical level. Try again.
Hello.
Yes, now we hear you.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you so much, and I wish to add my voice to that of Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi to thank you for the interest you're showing in the plight of Ugandans under a context of declining democracy. I want to start by re-echoing the values of the EU as enshrined under Article 2 of the European Union Treaty. And these are the values that we look up to. The values of human dignity, the values of freedom, democracy, equality, rule of law, and respect for human rights. The same values are enshrined in our constitution in Uganda, and they guide our work as a constitutional watchdog, the Center for Constitutional Governance, and the human rights defender, and the work that I do as a chairperson of the Global Network for Domestic Election Observers. On 30th December, I was not feeling well. I was in bed sleeping. I was awakened by the children that police had sieged our home. About 30 police and military officers had surrounded our home. 15 of these officers entered into the compound and were captured by the CCTV camera at my home. 5 of these officers entered up to my bedroom where I was sleeping under medication with two guns. As I woke up to take a shower in my bathroom, 2 armed officers kept guard on my open bathroom, violating my right to privacy, violating my dignity. I was incarcerated for 3 days at police, Natete police station, under difficult conditions of restricted access to family and lawyers. My child, I was allowed my son and my niece to bring me meals, but they would be held for more than 3 hours before serving me a simple meal, yet I was undergoing heavy medication in incarceration. I was denied legal representation. My lawyers only met me a few hours on 1st of January, a few hours to interrogation. During interrogation, I had 4 lawyers present at the police station. I was denied legal representation. I was alone. And 1 lawyer was told to sit outside and you will be invited by the police if needed. Yet Article 23 of the Constitution provides that any person suspected of having committed a crime is entitled to legal representation, access to family, lawyers, and doctors. I was denied. All my visitors were chased away. I was held 2 days without knowing the offense I had committed. And when it clocked 44 hours in detention, that's when an officer came to interrogate me. And I was asked questions regarding the president and his son, and the media interviews I do as part of my work in advocacy. During arrest, all the phones that were in my home, including those of my children, were wrongly confiscated by the police in a scuffle that led to assault of my children, and the phones of my children were held for more than 1 month, and they were left at home with no means of communication. My phone is still in police custody, and I have started experiencing digital impersonation. My handle on TikTok, my personal handle, has been brought down by hackers, yet it's registered in the phone that is with the police. 3 different accounts have been opened in my names using my biodata and my place of work, and they post offensive communication using deep fakes. The communication is related to what I was interrogated about. 2 of these accounts were opened when I was in detention in prison. And with my phone in the hands of police and with digital impersonation, I don't know what else they are doing regarding my personal data and communication. Towards elections, I was profiled as a highly dangerous person because of the work that I do as a chairperson of the GENDEM, chairperson of the Eastern Horn of Africa Election Observers Network, vice chairperson of the Africa Elections Observer Network, and president of the East Africa Civil Society Forum. The security thinks that this work that I do in the region, on the continent, and at the global level is dangerous, and it warrants me being treated as a terrorist because of promoting democracy and human rights. This profiling is what led to my detention and the charges that are related to a voter register, which I have never seen, that are related to sharing of data on a voter register, which is a public document, and these are the charges that I am battling in court. When you look at the work, the characterization of my work during travels at the airport, some random security officers will ask me what I do and why I travel so much. And the work was characterized as recruiting for opposition, as fundraising for opposition in security files. This is how I became a target of regime harassment. The unwritten offenses by the military and the security agencies in Uganda is that if you are a promoter of democracy and human rights, then you are a dangerous person to the government of Uganda. Our constitutional watchdog, the organization that I head locally, capitalizes on demanding for accountable leadership in line with the Constitution of Uganda. But calling out to the regime to account on human rights violations on several media platforms is what rendered me to be branded as a criminal in Uganda. The siege under my home, which lasted for more than 2 hours, surrounding the whole neighborhood, took away, violated our privacy, led to assault of my children, led to the detention of their phones, and depriving them of a right to communicate or study, including those that were engaged in online studies. I will now embark on the plight of civil society organizations in Uganda. The suspension of work permits for organizations that work on governance, human rights, and elections violates the NGO Act of Uganda, violates the NGO Amendment Act of 2024, because the definition of the NGO Bureau in section 16 means the board members of the Bureau. These board members do not exist after rationalization. The secretary who signed forms purporting to be holding out as the Bureau is impersonating the Bureau and has no such mandate. And the suspended NGOs were not given a right to be heard, which is a right provided for in the NGO Act. And the indefinite suspension of permits is in effect closure of NGOs without due process. The NGOs have been intimidated into silence because of a mention of activities prejudicial to national security, and most of them are hopeless and they cannot fight back. My third issue is on general human rights violations in Uganda. The militarization of the accreditation process for voter education and election observation leading to elections, which we refused, saying that voter education cannot be the business of the military. And because we were pushing back protecting the laws of Uganda, we were then marked as dangerous. In this election, there was no credible voter education, high militarization of elections, and disruption of opposition campaigns, especially those of the National Unity Platform, disrupted by the military and police, including roadblocks, the issues that we were talking about that led to the arrest, and
Bireete, Ms. Bireete, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Our chair, Hilde Voutmans, had to leave, so I'm stepping in for her. My name is Ingeborg Telek, and I'm the vice chair of this committee. Can I ask you, please, to come to your conclusions, because I assume this was your third and last item you wanted to address, or not?
Yes, please. I will mention the state of judiciary and rule of law as I go towards the conclusion.
Thank you.
We have the weak judiciary in place with questionable legitimacy because the Bar Association of Uganda has been locked out of the Judicial Service Commission, and the ongoing appointments, including that of the Chief Justice and Principal Judge, have questionable legitimacy because of lack of quorum at the Judicial Service Commission. There is also abuse of the presumption of innocence by the courts of Uganda, and anybody suspected of committing a crime is treated as if they have already been convicted, and this is a violation of Article 28 of the Constitution. As I conclude, I want to re-echo the diplomatic relations between the EU member states and citizens of Uganda. There is remarkable silence from your representatives in Uganda, and we understand the diplomatic relations to be relations between member states while promoting the pride and welfare of citizens. There is silence on violation of human rights in Uganda. There is silence on the re-echoing of EU values that are enshrined under Article 2 of the treaty, and through you, I want to request that the people of Uganda should not be pushed to lose confidence in your representatives in our capitals by neglecting the rule of law and rights of the people. I thank you so much.
Asante sana, Mrs. Bireete, and your message is very well heard on this side. It's very well heard by the Parliament, and thank you so much for your intervention. And I think you really paved the way for our next speaker to also say something about the diplomatic relationships we hold as Europe with Uganda. So I want to give the floor to Mr. Jonas Jonasson, head of the unit for the Horn of Africa and East Africa and the European External Action Service. Sorry, Mr. Johnson is the European Parliament resolution specifically called on the EU to engage with Ugandan authorities regarding violations, close monitoring relevant trails, and to review cooperation with the assistance for Uganda to ensure respect for EU principles, as Mrs. Bireete was saying, implementing targeted sanctions and prioritize support for civil society, human rights, and LGBTIQ plus defenders and journalists. Can you please inform us about what the EEAS has been doing so far, both in Brussels and in Kampala, and how do you see the way forward? Mrs. Jonasson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair, honourable members of this Parliament and distinguished colleagues also in this discussion, like the previous speakers. It's a very important opportunity indeed to discuss the situation in Uganda and EU-Uganda relations. Indeed, I would like to say a few words about that on our assessment of the elections and indeed, Chair, as you said, on the way ahead. First of all, I just wanted to refer to our statement of the 23rd of January, where we commented and acknowledged the results of the elections, but also expressed our regrets, especially with regard to post-election violence and threats against the opposition. The Chair already referred to the context of, indeed, EU-Uganda relations, where obviously there are many shared areas of common interest for cooperation with Uganda and with Ugandan people, which ranges from trade and investments, green transition, connectivity, climate resilience, sustainable forestry, etc. And in all of this, as you know, one of our flagship initiatives, the Global Gateway Strategy, is very prominent here. I will refrain from going into details, but also to say, as the chair already mentioned, that Uganda's role in the region for peace and security is very important. Somalia was mentioned. Uganda's role as a major refugee hosting nation is very important and contributing to regional stabilization. And of course, Uganda has a global voice, for example, chairing the non-aligned movement. In all of this, we stress that Uganda, through our governance programs, also strengthens democratic process and civil society. And we believe that our economic cooperation and in all these areas that I mentioned will also promote the interest of youth, notably. Having said that, the EU continues to support governance reforms, civil society and human rights initiatives, because sustainable development depends on accountable institutions, the rule of law, and inclusive participation. And over many years, we have worked with Ugandan institutions and stakeholders to support democratic processes through election observation, governance programs, civic participation initiatives, and sustained political dialogue, to contribute to an environment where political competition remains peaceful, inclusive, and trusted by citizens, as we have heard, is a very major issue. On the recent elections, actually our observations, and I knew that there would have been a representative also of the AU IGAD COMESA findings of the elections, they largely coincide and align, which acknowledge the largely peaceful conduct of voting while highlighting concerns related to the political playing field, arrests of opposition actors, and restrictions affecting access to information. And such observations underline the importance of continuous dialogue aimed at strengthening electoral credibility over time. And as I already said, we said publicly we regretted the post-electoral violence and threats, particularly against opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi, Bobi Wine, and we called on all parties to exercise restraint on the authorities to ensure the safety of all political actors. Looking ahead, electoral reforms remains an important area of engagement, and we continue to encourage progress on issues such as the independence of the Electoral Commission, transparency in results management, campaign finance, oversight, equitable media access, and effective dispute resolution mechanism, and anchoring all these reforms in Uganda's own constitutional jurisprudence. Through initiatives such as governance programs, the EU has supported civic education, dialogue platforms, rule of law initiatives, and capacity building efforts designed to strengthen institutions and encourage peaceful political participation as a long-term strategy to promote democracy and the rule of law. And for this reason, we remain in our engagement with all actors, government institutions, opposition representatives, but also civil society, religious leaders, and security actors, because we want to support this inclusive dialogue. We will therefore also continue to engage as a predictable, principled, and long-term partner supporting Uganda's democratic journey through dialogue, cooperation, and shared commitment to stability and inclusive government. That is particularly important as we actually celebrate this year the 50th anniversary of our relationship. And in that spirit, we would like to continue the support to the issues we have discussed today. But I want to stress that we are closely and we continue to closely monitoring the situation, as we've heard about today, the political and civic space, as well as the human rights situation in the country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to give the floor to colleagues, to members. Would you please, do you have questions? Would you like to speak out or to intervene? Yes, please. Yes, please. Mr. Uchen.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thanks for organizing this today's hearing. And I would like first to say on a personal note to Robert, all the best for you and for your family as well. We had the opportunity to discuss with David Lewis a couple of days ago about the situation during the election, and indeed this looks more like a military operation, as you say, than to a real election. And for me, it's quite obvious that Uganda is can be at the same time this country that is brings stability to the region by engaging with neighbors and by hosting refugees from neighbors, and at the same time being horrible to its own opposition to people that engage in civil society. In a way, this country has kind of a split personality, being good at this on the one hand and mean to the inside, and that this state is a state as a booty for the Museveni family, and the regime can be seen today. Today there was plans to be held Catholic Mass in the Lubaga Cathedral for political prisoner Dr. Kisa Pasike and other political prisoners that has been cancelled on the last minute by the Archbishop, probably because he got a call that it would be wise not to do this. For me, this shows that this is not a free country, and I can only say that for me, there's no transparency in those elections, and already acknowledging the results of such a fraudulent election is taking part in supporting a regime that is, from my point of view, not duly elected. So I think that we are already too positive on that note as a European Union. So it's said several times that the Ugandan constitution is very clear on the provisions, but apparently nobody cares, at least from those who are in the regime. So my question to our friends in Uganda is, what can we do further to support democracy and rule of law and human rights in Uganda, a part of doing what we do today, which is putting light to this situation. You request for targeted sanctions. My question to BAS is, what is hindering us if we know clearly that there are some people personally involved in abducting people, killing people, to put in place targeted sanction? These are my two questions to our esteemed guests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other colleagues who want to take the floor or not? Otherwise, I would like to give the floor back to Uganda, to Mr. Kuyangulani, Mr. Bobi Wine. Sorry for your family name is a little bit difficult for me to pronounce.
Yeah.
If you can give the floor first to you and then to Mrs. Bireete. Yes.
Sure. May I request that you repeat the question again, please?
So, Robert, first I said all the best for you personally and for your family, but I wanted to know, part of putting light on the situation and organizing meetings like this and calling for targeted sanctions, what else can we do in order to support you on the ground that are working for democracy in your country?
Thank you very much. I'll talk about what you can do from your end and what you can do from our end here in Uganda. From your end, of course, you can apply targeted sanctions. And I hear very many times regime apologists claiming that when you put targeted sanctions on individuals, it affects the nation. No, it does not. It saves the nation. You can slap targeted sanctions, travel sanctions, economic and legal, to the individuals, which individuals we have presented internationally, and others have actually come out themselves, like General Muhoozi, Museveni's son. You have laws like the Global Magnitsky, which has been applied to many human rights violators. We request that the same be applied to the regime back in Uganda. But also, association, I mean, it slaps those who believes in democracy and human rights in the face when they see ambassadors or diplomats from the world-known democracies standing shoulder to shoulder with gross human rights violations. For example, imagine just a day or hours after General Muhoozi tweets taking pride in murdering people, in attacking people's families and undressing people and tweeting it, taking pride in killing, and then the next minute you're going to see an official picture of an ambassador from a renowned democracy standing shoulder to shoulder. That is embracing, that is legitimizing impunity, and we call for distancing on that. I mean, I've not seen an ambassador or an government official from a democracy standing shoulder to shoulder with Lukashenko or these other, renowned dictators. Also, we have requested that for all the aid that is extended to Uganda, let it be conditional. Let it be conditioned to respect to democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. That would be very helpful. If it is not possible to cut out any cooperation, of course, the best thing would be for a democracy to disassociate from anything that contradicts the same. However, if it is not achievable to completely disassociate, then at least let there be a minimum of demanded, reforms that can lead Uganda to a line of democracy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bobi Wine. And now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Sarah Bireete. I don't see her. Are you still there? Yes. Ms.
Yes.
Sarah, can you say something
Thank you so much
about what we can do from our side? More.
Yes, I associate myself with the submissions of Honorable Chagrani on what you can do. I just want to re-emphasize 3 issues. One is that you should use more of the Global Magnitsky Act on individuals that are engaged in gross violations of human rights in Uganda. 2 is that you should put stringent measures to your funding agreements regarding the protection of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law in Uganda that are at their lowest at this time, and we are worried about the next 5 years as citizens. 3 is that you should support more people as compared to government. Empower the people to fight for and protect their democracy. This is what you can do.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bireete. And now, last, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Johnson. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about the sanctions, but also the conditions for aid.
Thank you very much. Well, it has been many references to the treaties of the European Union, and of course that is what's steering our engagement with all our partners globally. So it also in this case, of course, our development cooperation and our cooperation in general is not unconditional. It is based on our very clear values and expectations. In the case of Uganda, I've already outlined how we, at this stage, we monitor the situation very, very closely. We are engaging in a dialogue with both government, indeed, but also opposition and civil society. All of this, of course, is not happening in the public eye, but there is clearly a very proactive approach that we have, and also, of course, frank discussions. And it's through our development cooperation and the cooperation that we have, of course, we target that very much to governments and support civil society as I've outlined. And we have the possibility of focusing additionally on that as we deem necessary and to accompany a reform process. So the way we today, the approach that we have today is one of engagement and the proposals of restrictive measures have not been on the table in these discussions and in our and also in our discussions with our member states.
Thank you, and I would like to thank all our speakers, all our guests for today for their interventions, and I also would like to emphasize and to stress that we as European Parliament are committed to support a peaceful and prosperous society in Uganda and to do the work with all the relevant stakeholders to achieve this. So we will continue closely monitoring the situation in Uganda, and we do call on the Ugandan authorities to guarantee the possibility of a safe return, physical integrity and freedom of movement for Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi, Bobi Wine, as well as to ensure due process and an independent investigation into the arbitrary arrest and detention of Dr. Sarah Bireete. With this, dear colleagues, this brings us almost to the end of this meeting. If there are no more questions for the members, then I would like to close today's meeting. The next date of the next delegation meeting will be communicated in time. So hereby I close the meeting. So I'm very sorry. Good to see you. I'm sorry, so yeah.
Yes, Mega Promotion TV bwetyo bwe tutambula oba embeera bwetyo bwetambuddeyo olunaku olwaleero. Parliamentary bwetyo bwekomekerezeddwa. Ndowooza tuwulidde mwemwe n'abaliko ndowooza muwulidde ebintu byogeddwa. Tetugenda kuddingana nnyo bintu kuba ebyayogerwa luli ebyogerwa kati. Tugenda gendera ddala bugenzi ku point tugambe ekintu kino nga Uganda oba nga abantu abaagala enkyukakyuka bakifunamu batya oba tumala budde okubanga kubanga tulaba meeting egenda okuggwa nga tewali nnyo kyamaanyi kituukiddwako kisaliddwawo nnyo. Naye tulaba ekigenze maaso, tulaba wabaddewo omwami asinzidde n'aba ng'ayogera ku kintu ekyokugaana maasi eyabadde erina okusabirwa Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Ekyo kintu nakyogeddeko ne nkugamba ogwo si mutego kubanga bagubateze balabo baba n'abagaana era ne babagaana. Bobi Wine ku lunaku lwennyini lwalina okwogererako.
Simanyi kintu kino nti kyo ngaffe ngaba abantu ab'enkyukakyuka nti kibayambye kitya okuva mu eno meeting nti in that wadde omwami akyogeddeko tekibiweereddwa attention wadde bingi nnyo ebyogereddwako nga tebiweereddwa attention. Naye simanyi nti oba ebintu bino ebyogerwa wano bimalwa ne biddamu ne bitunulwamu ne bigamba katufune resolution bweti oba katufune solution y'ekintu kino bwe kiti. Mukulu Bobi Wine abuuziddwa kubanga bwe mulaba bw'abuuziddwa n'agamba ffe nga aba European Union Parliament mwagala tubakolere ki kye tusobola okubakolera. Bobi Wine n'ayogera ebintu byayogera nga luli nti abantu abavunaanyizibwa babeere individual nga bateekerweko sanction n'omukyala Sarah Bireete era kyekintu kyekimu kyayogedde. Naye ensonga ye gyayongeddeko okwongera okufandinga abantu abalwanira eddembe ly'obuntu ssente emifo kyoziwa gavumenti ye kyayongeddeko nti abantu bano abalwanira eddembe ly'obuntu bongere bafandingibwe ssente. Mpozi n'ekintu ekirala Mwami Johnson bwe bamubuuzizza biki bye musuubira okuba nga mukola na biki bye mukoze, Mwami Johnson ono andaze nti bakyalina enkolagana nnene nnyo ne gavumenti ya Uganda kubanga bwe badde bamugamba ku ssente okuba nga zisalibwa eziweebwa programu za Uganda ne gavumenti ya Uganda for accountability. Agambye mpulidde ng'agamba nti balina enkolagana etali yakiyita mu lujja, balina enkolagana ne gavumenti ya Uganda era bakyagenda maaso n'okuba nga bakolagana nayo. N'ekirala alaze mu kintu ky'okkubira
alina bwagambye nti Uganda balina engeri gye bagiramu security mu region okusobola okuyambako mumanya abarefugee biki n'okwetoloola ensi endala awo eza East Africa okuyamba kubawako security. Nate no munange ekyo abazungu basobola okuba nga badiscussinga awo bintu birala naati ne bavaayo ne resolution ddala kuba bo baba bamanyi ekyokukola naye wano bayinza obutakireeta direct naate gwe bayinza okutega omutego n'olaba nti tebakirese direct era gweno ne weewana nti mubadde mugamba bagenda kukolawo ki ne balyoka bakwasaako eryanyi ery'ekyuma kubanga bo babaddewo before nga ne gavumenti eno tennabaawo kubanga bagambye bagenda kuba nga bacelebrating emyaka 50 nga bakolera wano mu ggwanga Uganda nga bakolagana ne gavumenti yaffe.
Enjopo mpozi ekintu ekyo kyoyogeddeko omwami agambye nti abantu bava mu nsi endala ezeetoolodde ez'Afrika ze bayingira Uganda bwe bayingiramu nga mugamba nti Uganda nteefu ate ng'essaawa zino tulaba etaba gavumenti egobagana n'aba opposition ekyo nno nga bagamba tekiba kirungi mpozi nga maliriza Enjopo solutions gye ndaba bamaliriza nga basaba gavumenti kuba omukyala oyo erinnya lye mbadde naliwandiise wano omukyala oyo Mans bamuyita Mans omukyala oyo akyeyalinze meeting olwaleero bamuyita Vitamans akomekereza ng'agamba nti asaba gavumenti ya Uganda eteerewo enkola ennungi ey'okulanga Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ne famire ye badda mu maka gaabwe bunnambiro abateekewo enkola eri enungamu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu abeere era ekikomekerezeddwa bagambye gavumenti ya Uganda making sure ng'eteekawo enkola ennungamu Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu adde mu maka ge akole emirimu gye then n'ekirala ekyokubiri kye boogedde bateekewo akakiiko akeetengeredde akagenda okubuuliriza mu buvuyo bwaliwo then n'okusiba omukyala Sarah Bireete.
Okay ndowooza tugenda kubanga tweyongerayo lowooza
wano ndowooza olunaku olw'enkya tujja kujja ate tutemeeteme ebisingawo nga tumaze finding out biki ebigenze mu maaso olunaku lubadde luwanvu n'okulaba engeri gye tuyiyizayiza okuba nga tubatuusaako puroguramu eno mwenna abatubaddeko Mega Promotion TV tuleeta n'ebintu bingi nnyo gwe abadde takimanyi nti guno omukutu guba gukutuusaako ebiba bigenda mu maaso buli lunaku abeera ng'otujoyininga buli lunaku ate nyiga akapeesa ka notification oba akadde kajja kuba nga kakuwa notification nti Mega Promotion TV bayingiddewo n'ebintu ebigenda okuba nga bikuyamba n'emboozi n'analysis n'ebintu ebizimba. Nze Katende Hood mbadde n'Enjopo ne Simon olunaku olwaleero EU Parliament bwetyo bwegenze tujja kujja olunaku olw'enkya ate tubeere nga tutemaatema biki ebigenze mu maaso amawulire mu Uganda gadde mangi naye okuva we twatandise saa zadde 11 paka saawa zino kambeerekereze ate n'Enjopo abeerekereze mbeere nga musubscribinga Mega Promotion TV mbeere bulungi mweraba.
Ebikuzimba oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula biki ebifa ku serebuwo ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV. Oyagala okumanya ebifa mu nsi nga bw'etambula biki ebifa ku serebuwo ebisanyusa wamu n'ebikuzimba oyagala okumanya ebifa mu entertainment industry mu nsi yonna okutwaliza awamu okunnoka ogatta n'amawulire agafa mu sekita ez'enjawulo tugoberere ku YouTube, Facebook, Twitter ne TikTok. Mega Promotions TV.